Hey guys, I'm Shauna.
I'm Jordan.
Welcome to our channel, and today we're actually going to be sharing something for our photographer followers. And this has honestly probably been one of our highest requested videos like of all time ever.
Flattered.
Yeah, and that is our full flash setup. Full disclosure, if we wanted to talk about flash, we could literally talk about it for days. Like we could create a whole course on flash, how we set it, like our settings, all the things that we do. But what we're going to share,
which could be another video later.
It could, yeah, maybe it'll be like a part 2. But what we're going to share today is mostly just the gear that we use and why we use it. Also, if you're a part of our online Cooney Classroom Facebook group, which we'll link below in the description for you, in there we also kind of opened up a Q&A to photographers for any questions that they have about flash. So this is our gear slash like a little Q&A as well. So we'll be answering all of those in addition to going through our gear. We also have a page that actually has all of the gear that we use on our website. So what we'll do is we'll link our gear link up below for you, so that way you can go ahead and just click and add to cart and check out. Nice and easy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So anytime that we go into a reception, there's gonna be a lot of moving here. Welcome to our living room. We'll be coming kind of in and out of frame, picking stuff up to show you guys because we want you to be able to see. We also have a dog laying on the floor here. Who's like, she's refusing to move and like requesting belly scratches. I really wish you guys could see her right now. She's laying on her back, hands in the air.
We're gonna start here with our light stands. These are simple
tripods,
light stands.
They're 7 feet.
7 feet. We are considering getting new ones just because of the sturdybility that these things, because they have blown over in the past. But as far as these light stands go, just some common points as far as when you are stand up, make sure that this tripod stand is flat and that you tighten it there, because anything else, it's a little bit weaker as far as whether it's higher or lower. So just make sure it's even. That way your sandbag, which we have over here, can rest right on the top there.
Okay.
All right. So as it gets tightened too, as I said, we got 2 extenders. Again, one common thing to make sure when you're setting your light stand up is you want to pull it all the way extended, so that way it's all the way to its maximum, but then just a little, put it down a bit farther. All right, and then tighten it. That way, again, the sturdybility is there too. Yeah,
so you want to make sure that a little bit of the light stand is it's always inside of the pole underneath it, because what that does, it allows, like Jordan was saying, just for it to be more flexible, more sturdy in case wind hits it or whatever it is.
So I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is the maximum as far as the 7-foot tripod, so we're going to lower it for the case of the video. All right, but as far as the light stand goes, make sure that you also have this little doohickey right here. I don't even know the name of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of it either.
It is detachable.
It's like a screw that goes on.
Just make sure that you have that as far as your tripod goes. Most of them do have it if they come with
your hot shoe.
Yeah.
We actually need to get new hot shoes. These are a little frustrating, so I won't get into them. They're just not the best. So I think I am pretty positive on my page. I linked up better hot shoe versions. So we're gonna do, just to recap real quick, we're gonna do a quick run through of our equipment, and then we're gonna talk through where we would set them up in terms of the venue and things that we're considering when setting it up. Just wanted to go through that. That's what I was going to say when I lost my train of thought earlier, is that whenever we go to a ceremony or a reception, because we've had to use flash for ceremony before as well, and we've had to use flash for family photos. Jordan can link up like photos, like here's a photo of a ceremony that we shot with flash. And here's a photo that we photographed, family photos with flash. Just so you guys can kind of see, and then like here's an example of a reception photo that we photographed with flash. And so we have, basically you have to assess the situation, and we'll talk a little bit through that today, so you guys know when you're showing up to a ceremony or a reception, where are good like things to think about when you're kind of figuring out where to set those.
So before I jump ahead again, you want to run through all the equipment, right? Yeah,
so this is a hot shoe. This is going to go on top of your flash stand. You want to make sure that you always screw everything really nice and tight. Then from there, we have triggers. This is going to be another part of what we talk about, because I know I already read ahead that it was a question from one of our Cooney Classroom Facebook group.
Triggers simply, goes right on top of here, and you tighten it down. Now again, so our triggers have receivers and transmitters, so there's 4 triggers.
So we use Canon 600s. It's like the EX to RT. These actually do have transmitters inside of them, so they will actually speak to each other. You can have a master flash that speaks to slave flashes. The reason that we use triggers is because we actually don't always shoot with on-camera flash. Most of our setup is entirely off-camera if we can, because one, we find that the light is a lot more even, it's bouncing, it looks more natural, and also because like if we can avoid that extra weight on our bodies, we would like to avoid it.
Yeah.
So we pretty much use triggers to talk to our flashes because we have nothing on top of our cameras most of the time. So this flash, the 600EX2, is going to go on top of the trigger. You're going to want to make sure to lock it into place. And then that's basically like the basic flash setup. Now you can use like a modifier, like a box. There's tons of different ways that you can get the flash to be modified, but what we use is umbrellas. They're easy, they're compact. When they break, they're not expensive.
I think these are like 33-inch umbrellas.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll link those up. We've had plenty of them break. Make sure you have a few on hand. So, because you can buy super expensive ones, we just haven't seen the need for it. So this is gonna go right in here. You wanna make sure that it's about there, because you don't want it to be too close to the flash. So that way the flash can be stuck inside.
Basically, if you look down the side of the umbrella, you should be able to barely see.
I just stepped on her
flash.
ear.
Doesn't surprise
I stepped on my dog's ear and she didn't even move. So that's basically the basic setup of one of our stands. So talking about, real quick before I get into that, we also on camera have those transmitters. Long story short, this transmitter speaks to that transmitter. The setup that we have is two sets of the same transmitters. So we have 2 transmitters with the 2 receivers. We basically just bought 2 packs of these, so that way we can have one on my camera. So like the transmitter. We have a transmitter on my camera, a transmitter on Jordan's camera, and a receiver on this flash stand, and a receiver on the other flash stand. And what that means is that Jordan and I are using and pooling the same flash throughout everything.
Which has its pros and cons.
Yeah. Pro is that we have consistent, even lighting no matter who's taking the photo. Con is that obviously our flash is pooling from the same,
both cameras using the same
recharging.
flash.
Yeah, so recharge time, we're both using that flash, so we go through a decent amount of batteries. On that note of batteries, we use the OnLoop brand of rechargeables. Again, these are linked, you probably can't see them, that's fine. We have AA's, which go into the flash physically, and then we have rechargeable...
Same brand.
We have rechargeable AAA's that go into the transmitters. So everything's on loop. Like I said, everything's linked. We don't really have to tell them brands because they can just go to the thing and kind of grab it. When we do use an on-camera flash, in the rare occasion, the flash that we have is a 430EX3. We could have another 600. This was just one of the first flashes that I got. It's honestly a really great fat flash. I love how it recharges. And a lot of people like to use mag mods. There's lots of different diffusers that you can use for your flash, but I love the Gary Fong spheres. And so that's what we have. I just have a set of them. I've honestly had these for probably 10, 15 years. Like when I fell in love with photography, I bought these and they're great. They've never failed. I have a set of 2, it's perfect. And it really does a good job of really like kind of diffusing and softening the light when it comes out from the flash when I have to use an on camera. The only times that I really use on camera is if we have a really, really difficult reception space, that's
Cocktail
really rare.
too.
Cocktail hour, Jordan will pop this on his camera so he can be mobile with it. And then sparkler exits. I used to use these, but I actually just started putting this behind me when I'm shooting a sparkler exit because this does an even better job of popping that flash out there. So everything that we have 2 full setups of this. I'm not going to set both of them up, but we do have 2 of them. Actually, let's set it up real quick because I want to show you guys how quick you can actually throw up a flash if you needed to. So. And honestly, he could have done that faster if we were in like a tight time squeeze. So yeah, that's it. The reason why I wanted to set up both of these is because I kind of want to give you an idea of what it would look like. So if this was a reception space and let's say that the dance floor is in front of us and we're going to be photographing toward this direction, we're going to put a flash over in this corner. I'm not going to raise it all the way so they can still see it. And and then a flash over in the opposing corner. And what that's gonna do is those flash are going to, one, bounce off the ceiling if there's a ceiling that it can bounce off of, and it's also going to project like dual-sided light, so that way you're not getting these crazy shadows on your couples. And that's what we do. And now because of that, we can horseshoe probably about 180 degrees from either direction to photograph our couple. Sometimes, now this is full disclosure, sometimes we just have to go into a situation and we're like, ooh, the flash is not bouncing right. It's not like we're getting harsh shadows. This is usually a pretty foolproof method. Like if you have a hard venue where it's not really traveling well, if you're dual lighting, then you're going to get less like harsh lines on your subject. But sometimes we go into a place that has really, really great mounts, like a white tent. White reception tents bounce like really, really well. So what we would do in that scenario,
basically put these flash across from one another.
Is we can, I think you can kind of see that these flash would be on like diagonals from each other. And then what happens is we can essentially photograph almost 360. And the reason why I say almost is we just got to be careful. If I'm shooting a subject directly, I'll do it this way. If I'm photographing a subject directly in line sight of this flash, you'll get a lot of backfilling and backlighting, and it can just kind of be a little bit hazy in photo. But in all honesty, usually you can still use those photos. They're not too bad, like with that burst of light, because we have that umbrella on there helping. And essentially, guys, that's it. That's our flash setup. When we go into ceremonies, we do the same thing. We're gonna initially start. Now, ceremonies are trickier because sometimes, like for example, we have the processional coming from a different direction of where I'm photographing, like the actual ceremony. So for the ceremony, we're gonna probably be like, horseshoeing around, photographing the front of the room, but for the processional, I'm gonna be standing at the front. Again, sometimes I can get away with having the flash like slightly like off to the side, so that way it's bouncing off the ceiling. We could probably do a whole video on ceremony setup for flash, but essentially I want to give you permission to just see what works in that scenario. Jordan and I, many of times when we're photographing a ceremony or even during receptions, we have to move our flash a lot. It's not like you sit it there and it's done. Maybe when the guests maybe when like the bridal party's entering, they're entering this way toward us. Well, that means that our flash is behind that means that the flash is next to us. So that way, as they're coming in, we're lighting them up from each side. And then maybe when the couple does the first dance, we want to have our cameras the opposite direction, so that way we can photograph like their head table and like their bridal party behind them, and not the doors that they entered in. So this is usually our go-to for all receptions, is the bridal party enters, we have our flash next to us because we're taking photos of them as they enter with the doors behind them, and then each of us grab a flash, we bring it to the other side of the room, and then we photograph the other direction for the first dance. It's kind of just like our system, and it's almost like our dance that we do during the reception. Do you have a battery charger that charges like 6 or something, but how many batteries at a time? 8 batteries at a time. I'll link that up because you're gonna go through a lot of batteries on a wedding day. It is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and move into the Q&A side of things and see what questions there was in our Cooney Classroom on Facebook. Guys, that's a free group that you can join if you're not already in it. You can just go into Facebook and type in the Cooney Classroom. Cooney is spelled C-O-O-N-E-Y. And we're always in there like offering things to like education. If we have free offers that we can do, they're in there. We're just always in there too, doing lives and kind of helping wherever we can. So, going through these questions. How do you decide where to place your flash stands within a venue and how high up they should be? Again, sometimes it's just a little bit of trial and error. We've been in places where the ceiling's black and it's just not gonna bounce, right? So in that instance, we're gonna have to probably raise our flashes up higher, make sure that they're pointing more toward the crowd. It's a little bit of just assessing each situation as it is, and just knowing that you're in control, because when you panic, you're gonna find that you're not going to be able to make good decision making in that moment.
And our flash is almost always pointed like 45 degrees up. It's almost never pointed directly
down.
Forward.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, going through. For flash, do you sync both you and Jordan to all the flashes? I'm having a hard time with who gets synced to which flash and it not firing. Also, my flashes don't seem to fire unless they can physically see each other, which I thought was weird, but I guess How do you sync up flashes with more than one shooter? These triggers. So using any sort of trigger system is gonna really save you. We do shoot on the same flash system. We really don't have a problem with it. Of course, there's reload time. That's just a flash. I know Canon has reload time. There are other flashes out there that might not have that. You can always look at Erica and John, shout out to you guys, because they have lots of flash education out there on products and like things like that. So if you have those really, really technical questions, they're great for it. But we find that just syncing all of us up on the same triggers, and the way that that works, just to show you, is on your trigger, you have channels, and you just want to make sure that you're on that same channel and that all of your triggers are on the same channel, and then they're going to all communicate and all fire at the same time. That'll also solve the problem with your flashes not firing unless they're facing each other. I'm not really sure about that, but by having them on a trigger with the channels, it'll resolve that issue, because this is what's communicating, not your flashes itself.
Also, when Sean and I are shooting receptions too, there's only a certain amount of times where we're taking pictures at the same time. So that way we're not stealing each other's flash, because that's happened too. But at least you know one person got the shot. Yeah, definitely. So we'll look at each other many times and be like, I got this, or do you have this? Another time. We actually tell each other, so we're both looking here like, you. Yeah, sometimes we're standing next to each other and we'll know that like a dip is coming or something, like, it's me, I've got this. Of course, if you're both firing, it's not a big deal, but you don't want either of you to be like, oh, I thought you were gonna get that shot. Worst case scenario, both of you take the photos and you'll just have some that doesn't have flash. And just common battery sense too, when you first put in a new pair in, it's gonna fire a lot more frequently, but as time goes on, it's gonna fire less frequently too, so just be aware. And then once you're tired of waiting and the reload time is like over 20 seconds, you might want to rechange batteries. I wouldn't even say it's 20 seconds. After it gets to like 5 to 7 seconds, because that can be a long time to wait. It just depends on what part of the day you're in. If it's just open dancing happening, then you really don't need super fast firing. Yeah. So sometimes you can be more patient in that situation.
Yeah. One thing that I will add is there are moments where you do have to have more rapid firing during the reception, like bouquet tosses. So what we'll do in those instances is I will only utilize the umbrellas, and Jordan will throw an on-camera flash on with the Gary Fong diffuser. So he'll throw the on-camera flash with the diffuser on his camera. I'll photograph the bride and the bride tossing, and Jordan will photograph the girls behind her who are catching. Yeah, so and that just kind of helps. Better lighting. Yeah, and that just kind of helps with us making sure that we can kind of get both of those. We do find that our on-camera flash will fire quicker. I think that probably has something to do with the transmitters, but I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I am like a flash guru. I don't know all the ins and outs of everything, but that is just kind of what we find. Does fire almost, or the reload time on an on-camera flash is nearly like half. Yeah, it's super fast. So I just wanted to share that, like when there are those moments, we will throw on an on-camera flash. So we hope that that's helpful for you guys, and it kind of gives you an idea of like what we currently use. Just as a frame of reference, we are currently considering adding a third and or fourth flash full setup to our gear, because sometimes there are just difficult and tricky venues, and it definitely doesn't hurt to be able to four-corner the venue, because then you're going to have so much less shadows, so much more light flowing. That way you don't have to pull a Shauna and Jordan, and when one thing happens and the next thing's going to happen, you have to pick up and move the flash. And we do move the flash a lot, so it would help with that, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with having two. It's just kind of like we're at a place in our business where we can afford to add a fourth flash setup, and so we're probably going to go ahead and do that. We have been saving for it too, because flash ain't cheap. No, it's not. So we've been saving for it. So if you have a two flash setup, this is a really, really great setup. We've been using it for years. You can get beautiful photos with it. If you have four, it just makes your reception a little bit easier, but there is no problem with a two. So yeah, that's what we use. We hope it's helpful for you guys. If you have any questions on flash in terms of like actual settings and other things like that, we would be happy to do a part 2 to this. So feel free to drop any questions that you have below. And yeah, feel free to subscribe to our channel as well if you enjoyed this education, because sometimes we're sneaky and we send these videos out to our subscribers specifically. So yeah, make sure that you have that, and we're so excited for you guys, and we're so excited to have you here. Have a great day, guys.